All right, so we're diving back into Gary V's jab, 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 right hook to see what advice from this marketing legend
Yeah.
still packs a punch,
That's
in 2024.
It's fascinating how relevant this book still is.
Right.
Even though, the social media landscape
Oh, yeah.
has shifted dramatically
Big time.
since it was published.
For sure. Remember when Instagram was just like
Oh, yeah.
filtered sunsets?
Oh, really?
And now it's like a commerce giant.
Well, I know. It's crazy.
I'm curious how Gary V's core principles still hold up, in this constantly changing world.
One thing that definitely still rings true
Oh, okay.
is his assertion that social media is like the main event, not just some sideshow to traditional marketing.
Yeah.
He makes this point by comparing the time it took different mediums to reach 50 million users.
Okay.
Radio took 38 years.
Wow.
TV took 13 years.
Okay.
And Instagram.
Yeah.
Just a year and a half.
It's mind-blowing.
Yep.
It's so fast.
How quickly consumer attention has shifted.
Totally.
Ignoring social media today is like trying to sell cassette tapes.
Right.
In the age of Spotify.
Exactly.
You're just going to...
Nobody wants them.
Yeah, you're going to be left behind.
If you'd be left behind.
So let's break down this whole jab, 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 right hook concept because it's become almost like a marketing mantra.
It's classic Gary V.
Yeah.
The boxing analogy is so effective because it really highlights the importance of strategy and timing.
Right.
Just like a boxer wouldn't lead with a knockout punch.
Of course not.
You shouldn't just bombard your audience with constant sales pitches.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
But in a world of influencer marketing and sponsored content, it feels like everyone's trying to sell us something all the time.
I know, it's true.
So how do we even define a jab in today's landscape?
That's a great question.
A jab isn't just any old piece of content.
Okay.
It has to provide genuine value to your audience.
Uh-huh.
Think like entertaining videos, informative articles, engaging polls that spark conversation.
Right.
It's about building a relationship, establishing trust, and demonstrating that you understand your audience's needs and interests.
Okay, so it's not about tricking people into liking you so you can eventually hit them with the sales pitch.
Right.
It's about genuinely connecting and providing value up front.
Exactly. And that's where Gary V's emphasis on native storytelling comes in.
Okay.
It's not enough to simply create great content. You have to tailor it to the specific language and culture of each platform.
So a funny meme that works on Twitter might fall flat on LinkedIn.
Precisely. Each platform has its own unique vibe and way of communicating.
Right.
Think of it this way.
Okay.
You wouldn't wear a swimsuit
to a board meeting.
Right.
Or a business suit to the beach.
That's a great analogy.
Right.
So how do we figure out the dress code for each platform?
Yeah.
What are some of the key things to consider?
Gary V uses the example of a cosmetics company.
Okay.
Instead of just blasting out product photos on Facebook.
Yeah, which can feel spammy.
Yeah, it's like, what are you doing?
Totally.
They could offer makeup tutorials.
Okay.
Share behind-the-scenes glimpses of their brand.
Right.
Or create content that addresses the everyday challenges of their target audience.
Okay.
Like quick makeup routines for busy moms.
So it's about understanding your audience.
Yes.
What they care about and speaking their language.
Exactly.
And don't be afraid to show some personality and humor either.
Absolutely. Authenticity is key.
Yeah.
People can spot a fake from a mile away.
Oh, yeah.
Especially on social media where everyone's trying to present like a curated version of themselves.
It's all so curated. I know.
Okay, so we've got the jab, jab, jab part down.
Okay.
We're building relationships, providing value, speaking the language of each platform.
Right.
But when is it time to throw that right hook?
That's where it gets tricky.
Okay.
The timing has to feel natural, not forced.
Right.
You got to earn the right to ask for the sale.
I can see how that could be a delicate balance.
Yeah.
You don't want to come across as too pushy.
Right.
But you also don't want to miss the opportunity to convert a loyal follower into a paying customer.
Exactly. And that's why Gary V stresses the importance of understanding each platform's strengths and weaknesses.
I see.
Some platforms like Instagram are better suited for jabs,
Okay.
while others like Facebook offer more opportunities for direct sales.
All right, let's dive into some platform-specific strategies then.
Right.
Facebook seems like a good place to start, considering its massive reach and constantly evolving algorithm.
That's a beast.
What are some of Gary V's key insights about this behemoth of a platform?
One of the biggest challenges marketers face on Facebook today is declining organic reach.
Yeah, it's so frustrating. I spend all this time crafting the perfect post.
Right.
And then it gets lost in the sea of baby photos and political rants.
It's true.
It's like,
online.
Yeah.
And that's where Gary V's advice about sponsored stories becomes crucial. He argues that you need to be willing to invest in paid advertising to ensure your content is actually seen by your target audience.
So those sponsored posts aren't just for big corporations with massive marketing budgets.
Not at all.
Even small businesses and solopreneurs should consider putting some money behind their content.
Yes, especially if they want to compete.
Right.
In today's crowded social media landscape.
It's so crowded.
I know, it's tough out there.
Okay, so let's say I'm ready to dip my toes into the world of sponsored stories.
All right.
What are some key things to keep in mind?
First, you need to understand how Facebook's algorithm works. It's not just about reach. It's about engagement. The more likes, shares, and comments your content gets, the more visibility it will have, even organically.
So even if I'm paying to boost a post, I still need to create content.
You do.
That's compelling enough to spark engagement.
Think about it this way. You're essentially paying for the opportunity to get your content in front of more eyeballs.
Right.
But once it's there, it's
up
up to the content itself to do the heavy lifting.
That makes sense.
Right.
So how do we crack the code
Right.
of creating content that resonates on Facebook?
Yes.
What kind of jabs are most effective on this platform?
One of Gary V's key insights is that Facebook is a platform for building community. People come to Facebook to connect with friends and family, to share their lives, and to engage in conversations about topics they care about.
So it's less about being slick and polished.
Yes.
And more about being relatable and authentic.
Exactly. Think about the types of posts that you personally engage with on Facebook. Are you more likely to like a perfectly staged product photo? Or a funny video about a relatable parenting struggle?
Definitely the relatable parenting struggle every time.
Right. And that's the kind of content that Gary V encourages brands to create. Think about the everyday challenges your target audience faces, their hopes and dreams, their fears and frustrations. Tap into those emotions.
I see.
And you'll create content that resonates.
So it's not just about promoting your product or service. It's about becoming part of the conversation.
Yes.
Building relationships. And adding value to your audience's lives.
And when you do that consistently, when you establish yourself as a trusted source of information and entertainment, that's when you've earned the right to throw that right hook.
I see.
And make the ask.
All right, so we've tackled Facebook.
We did.
What's next on our platform hit list?
Let's move on to Twitter, shall we?
Twitter, huh?
Yeah.
That's where I go to get my news.
Yeah.
Argue with strangers. And see what Elon Musk is up to.
Of course.
How does Gary V's jab, 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 right hook philosophy apply to a platform that's known for its rapid fire, often chaotic nature?
That's where it gets really interesting. Twitter is all about real-time engagement and capitalizing on trending topics. It's where you can showcase your brand's personality, inject yourself into relevant conversations, and connect with your audience on a more personal level.
I'm seeing the potential here. But Twitter moves so fast. How do you keep up with the trends and avoid getting lost in the noise?
Gary V highlights the importance of using Twitter search effectively. Don't just blast out your own content. Actively search for conversations related to your industry, your brand, or even your competitors. Find opportunities to jump in, offer valuable insights, and show people that you're listening and engaged.
So if I'm a coffee shop owner, I should be searching for keywords like coffee, latte art, caffeine fix.
And don't be afraid to get creative with your hashtags. Hashtags are like the threads that connect different conversations on Twitter.
Okay.
Use them strategically to expand your reach and tap into relevant communities.
I'm starting to see how Twitter can be a powerful jab platform.
Yes.
You're not necessarily selling directly,
right,
but you're building brand awareness.
Exactly.
Establishing yourself as a thought leader.
And engaging with potential customers in a more organic way.
Precisely. And Gary Vee offers this brilliant example
Okay.
of real-time marketing done right.
Okay.
Remember the Super Bowl blackout a few years back?
Okay.
Oreo tweeted, "Power out, no problem."
Oh, yeah, that was so good.
You can still dunk in the dark.
It was perfect.
The simple image of an Oreo.
Yeah, that was genius.
Like, it went viral instantly.
Yeah.
It was perfectly timed, relevant to the moment, and aligned perfectly with Oreo's brand identity.
So good.
That's the power of Twitter.
Right.
When you understand how to use it strategically.
Okay, I'm convinced Twitter needs to be part of my social media strategy.
Good.
But what about Pinterest?
Okay.
It seems like a totally different vibe. More visual and aspirational.
Yes.
Does Gary Vee even address Pinterest in the book?
He does, and he has some fascinating insights.
Okay.
He emphasizes the aspirational nature of Pinterest content.
Oh, people use it to discover and share things they love.
Right.
Things they dream of having or doing.
So it's all about those dream boards.
Yes.
Filled with beautiful homes, delicious food, stunning travel destinations, and DIY projects that never actually get done.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Gary Vee suggests focusing on high quality, visually appealing content.
Right.
That feeds that sense of aspiration.
Okay.
And remember, repinning content from others is a great way to show you're part of the community and that you understand your audience's tastes.
It's like saying, hey, we get you.
Exactly.
Well, we like the same things you do.
Right. And when it comes to brands, it's a subtle way of associating yourself with a certain lifestyle or aesthetic.
Okay.
For example, Whole Foods might repin a photo of a luxurious pantry from a food blog.
Right.
They're not directly selling anything.
Right.
But they're associating their brand with an aspirational lifestyle.
I see. It's about creating that feeling, that connection.
Exactly.
Okay, so Pinterest is for those dreamy, visually driven jabs.
Yes.
What about Instagram? I feel like it's become the go-to platform for everything visual.
It has.
Yeah.
And Gary Vee was way ahead of the curve on this one.
Right.
He predicted that Facebook would buy Instagram.
Yeah.
Because of the rising importance of visual content.
Right.
Especially among younger demographics.
And he was right.
He was.
Facebook bought Instagram for a cool $1 billion.
Spot on. His point is that where the kids are, marketing should follow.
Right.
And for brands, it's crucial to understand the nuances of the platform.
Right.
Instagram doesn't allow clickable links in posts.
Right.
Which makes it more of a jab platform than a right hook platform.
Okay.
You can still drive traffic to your website through your bio link and stories.
Right.
But the focus on Instagram should be on creating visually stunning content.
Right.
That captures attention and tells your brand story.
So it's more about building brand awareness and engagement than driving direct sales.
Yes. But you can still do both.
Right.
Strategically.
Okay. So high-quality visuals are a must on Instagram.
Definitely.
What else should brands be thinking about?
Gary Vee emphasizes the importance of authenticity and creativity on Instagram.
Okay.
Don't just post polished product photos.
Right.
Give people a behind the scenes, look at your brand, show your personality, experiment with different content formats like reels and stories.
Okay.
And don't be afraid to collaborate with influencers who align with your brand values.
It sounds like Instagram rewards brands.
It does.
Who are willing to take risks and push creative boundaries.
Absolutely. It's a platform where you can really let your brand's personality shine through.
Yeah.
But remember, even the most creative content needs to be strategically aligned with your overall marketing goals.
Got it. High-quality visuals. Younger demographic.
Yes.
Stay ahead of the trends. Don't be afraid to experiment.
Right.
What about Tumblr?
Okay.
It feels like the forgotten stepchild of social media sometimes.
Tumblr is an interesting one.
Yeah.
It's definitely a niche platform.
Right.
But it has a fiercely loyal and engaged user base.
I see.
And Gary Vee is a big fan of its unique potential.
What makes Tumblr so different?
For one thing,
Okay.
It's the reigning champion of animated GIFs.
Oh, really?
They tend to get crazy engagement on Tumblr.
Okay.
And they offer a fun, creative way to tell stories and connect with your audience.
GIFs are definitely having a moment.
I know they're everywhere.
Yeah, even beyond Tumblr.
They are.
Yeah.
And Gary Vee gives this really interesting example of how NPR's show Fresh Air used a GIF from the movie A Room with a View to commemorate the death of the screenwriter. It captured the essence of the film and resonated with your audience.
So it's not just about being funny or silly.
Right.
It's about finding creative ways to use GIFs.
Exactly.
To connect with your audience and enhance your storytelling.
He suggests experimenting with GIFs.
Finding
ways to incorporate them into your content strategy to capture attention and make your brand stand out. And on Tumblr, that's especially important. Because the platform thrives on visual content. That's shareable and meme-worthy.
Okay, so we've covered the big players. Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram. And even Tumblr.
Yes.
But what about those newer platforms that are still kind of on the fringes? Did Gary Vee have anything to say about those?
He briefly touches on Google Plus and Vine. Which were just starting to gain traction when he wrote the book.
Google Plus didn't quite take off as some predicted. And Vine. Well, R.I.P. Vine.
I know, 6 seconds of glory.
6 seconds of glory.
Gone too soon.
But his point, I think, was less about specific platforms and more about the importance of early adoption.
Exactly. He emphasized that the brands who get in early and figure these new platforms out first will have a significant advantage.
It's like the Wild West of social media.
It is.
There's a lot of opportunity.
There is.
For those who are willing to take a risk and experiment.
It's true.
It's easy to dismiss new platforms as silly or niche.
Right.
But who knows what they could evolve into.
Exactly.
Look at TikTok.
I know.
A few years ago, it was just kids dancing in their bedrooms.
Right.
Now it's a marketing juggernaut.
It's crazy. The first people on those platforms often have a huge advantage. They get to learn the ropes, build an audience, establish themselves as thought leaders before the masses arrive.
I'm getting FOMO just thinking about all the potential opportunities out there.
Me too.
But it can also feel overwhelming.
How do we know which platforms are worth our time and energy?
That's a question every marketer grapples with. And Gary Vee doesn't claim to have a crystal ball. But he offers some valuable advice. He encourages brands to think about their target audience, their industry, and their overall marketing goals. Which platforms are your ideal customers using? Where are the conversations happening that are relevant to your brand? And what kind of content are you best equipped to create?
I see.
Answering these questions can help you narrow down your focus and choose the platforms that are most likely to yield results.
So it's not about being on every single platform.
No.
It's about being strategic.
Yes.
And choosing the platforms that make sense for your brand and your audience.
Exactly.
That takes some of the pressure off.
It does. And remember, social media marketing is all about experimentation.
Don't be afraid to try new things. To see what works and what doesn't. And always be willing to adapt your strategy as the landscape changes.
It's always changing.
It is.
So far, we've been talking a lot about the jab, jab, jab part of Gary Vee's philosophy.
Yes.
But he doesn't completely dismiss the right hook, right?
Of course not. The right hook is still essential. But it has to be earned. And in today's social media landscape, where consumers are bombarded with marketing messages from all sides.
All the time.
The right hook needs to be more nuanced and strategic than ever before.
What does that look like in practice? How do we throw that right hook without alienating our audience or coming across as too pushy?
Gary Vee argues that the right hook should be a natural extension of the value you've already provided through your jabs. If you've consistently delivered engaging content, build trust with your audience, and established yourself as the thought leader, then asking for the sale won't feel like a hard sell. It will feel like a natural next step in the relationship.
So it's not about tricking people into buying something they don't need.
No.
It's about offering a solution to a problem. They've
Yeah.
already expressed or fulfilling a desire.
Exactly.
They've already articulated.
And when you do that,
Yeah.
When your right hook aligns perfectly with your audience's needs and desires, the conversion happens organically. It's not about manipulation. It's about genuine connection.
Okay, this is all making sense.
Good.
But even with the perfect jab, 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 right hook strategy, social media marketing can feel like an uphill battle sometimes.
It can. And Gary Vee doesn't sugarcoat the challenges. In fact, one of his most important messages is that effort trumps everything else in social media marketing. You need to put in the work, the hustle.
He's definitely known for his hustle.
He is. And he tells this story about boxer Buster Douglas, who achieved a stunning upset against Mike Tyson.
Wow.
Only to lose his next fight.
Oh.
Due to a lack of effort.
Oh, wow.
He got complacent. And it cost him.
Yeah.
The same can happen in social media marketing.
So even if you have a great strategy and you're killing it on social media, you can't let up. You have to keep pushing, keep innovating.
You have putting in the work.
You do, and that can be exhausting, especially for small business owners and solopreneurs who are wearing multiple hats. But Gary Vee argues that the rewards are worth the effort.
Okay. So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We've talked about the jab, 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 right hook philosophy, how to apply it to different platforms, and the importance of effort and consistency.
But I'm curious, did Gary Vee offer any insights about the future of social media marketing?
He does.
Like what?
What's coming next?
He touches on a fascinating concept. That he believes will become increasingly important. In the years to come, the idea of brands becoming their own media companies.
That sounds intriguing. Tell me more.
He argues that in the future, brands won't need to rely on traditional media companies to tell their stories. They'll cut out the middleman and go directly to the audience.
They'll become their own publishers, essentially.
Precisely. They'll create their own content, their own channels, and build their own audiences.
But how could a brand possibly compete with established media giants like, say, ESPN or National Geographic?
Gary Vee uses the example of Michelin, the tire company, which started publishing restaurant reviews over a century ago to encourage people to drive more.
Thus wearing out their tires faster.
That's a pretty clever marketing tactic.
It is.
And it's still going strong today.
It is. And he suggests that brands could create their own sports programming, travel magazines, or any other type of content. Or any other type of content that aligns with their brand. And resonates with their target audience. The key is to create content that people actually want to consume. Content that provides value and entertainment. Content that doesn't feel like a thinly veiled sales pitch.
So instead of just creating ads, they'll become content creators in their own right.
Exactly. And he points out that the barrier to entry is lower than ever before with the rise of digital platforms. It's easier and more affordable for brands to create and distribute their own content.
That's a pretty radical shift in thinking.
It is.
But I can see how it could be incredibly powerful if done right. It could really level the playing field. And give smaller brands a chance to compete.
Absolutely.
With the big guys.
It could. And it ties back into that core message about effort. The brands that are willing to put in the work to experiment, to embrace this new way of thinking about content creation, those are the brands that will win in the long run.
All right. So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
What are some key takeaways for our listener as we move into the final stretch of this deep dive?
I think the biggest takeaway is that social media marketing is a constantly evolving landscape. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
For sure.
You need to be adaptable, willing to experiment, and always striving to stay ahead of the curve.
And that means paying attention to emerging platforms. Understanding the nuances of each platform. And constantly testing and refining your strategy. And never underestimate the power of a well-placed jab.
Exactly.
It feels like we're living in a perpetual state of what's next.
I know.
When it comes to social media. It's like every time you turn around, there's like a new platform or a new trend or a new algorithm update. And it's hard to keep up.
It's true. You remember when we all thought
Oh, yeah.
Google Plus was going to be the next big thing?
Right.
Or when everyone was obsessed with Vine?
Oh, yeah, Vine.
The only constant in social media is change.
Right. And that's why Gary V's emphasis on effort and hustle is so important.
Exactly. You can't just set it and forget it.
No.
You have to constantly be learning, adapting, experimenting to stay ahead of the curve.
Speaking of staying ahead of the curve, any final thoughts for our listener on how to spot the next big thing in social media? It's like trying to predict the stock market.
I think Gary V would say it's less about predicting the future and more about paying attention to the present.
I see.
What are the platforms that are getting you excited right now? What are the trends that you're seeing emerge?
Right.
What are the conversations that are happening outside of the mainstream?
So it's about being curious.
Yes.
Keeping your finger on the pulse. And not being afraid to dive into something new.
Right.
Even if it seems a little weird or niche at first.
Exactly. Remember, the early adopters are often the ones who reap the biggest rewards.
Totally.
They get to establish themselves as thought leaders, build a loyal following, and shape the culture of the platform before it becomes oversaturated.
It's like being the first one to discover a cool new band before they become famous.
I know.
You get to brag about it to all your friends.
And then when they get huge, you're like,
I knew them back when.
I was there.
Exactly.
I saw them in a tiny club.
Yep. Back in the day. And in the world of social media, that early mover advantage can be incredibly valuable.
It can.
This deep dive has been a total game changer.
I'm glad.
I feel like I have a whole new playbook for tackling social media.
Remember, it's not just about the tactics.
Right.
It's about understanding the psychology of social media, building genuine relationships with your audience. And providing value at every touch point.
And never underestimate the power of a well-placed jab.
Exactly. But by following Gary V's advice, by understanding the nuances of each platform, and providing real value to your audience, you can build lasting relationships. And achieve remarkable results.
So to sum it all up,
embrace
the hustle, tell great stories, stay ahead of the curve, and never be afraid to experiment.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
That's all the time we have for today.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Gary V's jab, 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 right hook.
It was fun.